Thank you kindly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to add my own words of congratulations to you for ascending the chair. I cannot imagine a more appropriate person at this time for this position, and we expect that you are going to preside there as you have done in other areas of your life with excellence. I also want to congratulate the Deputy Speaker for his election to this House, and we expect that he too will become experienced. Please allow me, sir, to also register our thanks, our deep gratitude to the Vice President, Bharat Jagdeo, for leading a team and getting this budget ready for us. A budget that crafts a vision that the people of Guyana outlined and told us they wanted what they wanted for themselves. I thank particularly Minister Bishop Edgehill for presenting that budget. And unlike what some very ungracious persons have said, he didn't only read a budget. I am aware of the long hours he spent with the budget staff putting this budget together and making sure our numbers are balanced. We thank you, sir. Please allow me to, Mr. Speaker, to register our deep gratitude to the Budget Office led by the Budget Director, the very brilliant Sonia Rupnath, who put together this budget here for Guyana. They must have missed the work. We haven't had a budget for a couple of years now, as you know. Mr. Speaker, when opposition members of the House say very derogatively that this budget could not have happened, then they're really speaking of the public servants of this nation, because those are the people who toil hard without prancing around in the newspapers to get our work done, and we register our deep gratitude. Sir, before I begin, I want to also welcome back to the Ministry of Education Guyana's son, Marcel Hudson, Dr. Marcel Hudson. He was unfortunately, sir, one of those persons who suffered at the hands of the APNU AFC. So when we hear about hundreds of persons being fired, which incidentally is not true, I can give a list from the Ministry of Education of people who were fired unceremoniously who had no party loyalty. Started in education when they were 15 years old, and you sent them home simply because they were doing their job and being faithful and loyal to the government of the day. Shame on you. Shame on you. And where they want to come back, they will have a space with us because they are patriots of this country. Unlike what I saw when I left, my secretary at the time was a lady from the pool, not coming from Freedom House, a lady chosen from the pool, tucked away in a dusty office, when I left that ministry. That was shameful behavior. And that is why you're feeling the effects of people you hurt, and you're sitting over there. That is why. Mr. Speaker, this budget offers much. Mr. Speaker, this budget brings much. I know Ms. Lewis very well. Very well. She worked for the Ministry of Education also, the honorable member. And she may want to be careful with her comments. Very careful. Mr. Speaker, this budget brings to the people of Guyana what the people of Guyana said they wanted. Let me just be clear. When we drafted a manifesto in the People's Progressive Party Civic, we didn't sit down in a back room and decide what we wanted in that manifesto. We went to the people of this country, village to village. We had open consultations. I remember one with more than 200 persons at the Princess Hotel, from all sectors: labor, private sector, women, Amerindians, men, religious groups, who told us what they wanted. And we have been in office for under 6 weeks.
And on the 6 weeks, we have begun to deliver promises. We are still waiting in this nation for the APNUAFC to deliver their 100-day plan, and it's 5 years later. What are some of those promises we have begun to deliver? From this budget, by these measures, in this document, VAT will be reversed on electricity and water. VAT and duties will be reversed on machines and equipment. Tax concessions on mining and agriculture and forestry. There will be a reversal of land lease fees. There will be a removal of VAT on pesticides and agrochemicals. There will be a reversal of VAT on all exports. There will be removal of VAT on hinterland travel. There will be removal of VAT on all medical supplies. There will be a removal of VAT on building and construction materials. There will be a removal of VAT on cell phones. There's going to be a removal of VAT on corporate tax for education and private health care. The mortgage interest relief will move to $30 million. We'll reverse the policy on used tires and vehicles. $800 million is in this budget for the Amerindian Development Fund. $5 billion for support for Gaisuko. Free water for pensioners. 2 weeks tax-free bonus for joint services. $150 million for health frontline workers. $200 million to expand the Guyana Learning Channel. 25,000 solar units for the hinterland. Removing the required license for mining equipment. Reverting the poultry industry to zero-rated status. Special incentive for corn and soy production. Tax concessions in agro and cold storage capacities. Investing in farm-to-market access roads. 50 new 4x4 vehicles for the police force for the hinterland patrol. $1.5 billion for hinterland roads. Upgrade of the Lenora, West Demerara, Saudi and Diamond Hospital. $25,000 per household for COVID relief. Special incentives for new hotels. We're committed to liberalizing the telecommunications sector, and we are putting 3 multi-purpose sports complexes in regions 2, 6, and 10. Mr. Speaker, this is just a short list of what we're going to do. I will emphasize further in my presentation what we will be doing for the education sector particularly. So when you say there is nothing in the budget for anyone, how do you deny this? How do you deny this? Mr. Speaker, this government will make sure that what the last government did to teachers, I'm hearing the cry of teachers, there is nobody in a political system that loves teachers more than we do. And we will show you that. We will show the teachers that. So Mr. Speaker, we will not have the Honorable Ms. McDonald on the road beating a pot on a drum to get our attention. She will have my ear all the time, and she needs to know that. Mr. Speaker, this for me is a sobering time. We're in the midst of a pandemic. That is sobering. Pandemic has meaning. Plenty people get sick, many can die. At this time, sir, it requires each of us and all of us as a collective to reach down in our bellies and pull up from ourselves the very best that we can be. Because we are facing an existential threat, and we must fight that back as one to ride out of this period together. And in this time, sir, when we're facing this existential threat, the petty shouts, the shallow quarrels seem extremely minimized when we're talking about life and death. And this is not an abstract concept. I'm sure everybody in this house knows some family that has been affected severely by this disease. And this requires of us, this is this thing we're fighting, this requires of us a oneness to be able to succeed in that fight. And I'm saying to you on behalf of the PPPC government that our arms are outstretched and we are prepared to work with you once you are prepared to work with us to make sure we take this country forward. But we will say this, if you are not prepared to reach our outstretched hands, we will do it alone. Because the people of this country have placed their trust in us, in all of us here, and they have required of us that we do this together. But if you don't want to partner, we will do it alone, and they will judge you harshly. They will judge you harshly. Mr. Speaker, what is the state of the Ministry of Education as I found it? Sir. Mr. Speaker, I can see the Grand Union leader is accustomed to the screaming and shouting, and I commit to you that it's unnecessary when we're in leadership. It is unnecessary. We will hear you. We will hear you. Stop screaming like a banshee. Mr. Speaker, the buildings we found in the Ministry of Education, a state that needs examination. We were told in this house, this very house, by the AP and UAFC government that nothing could happen in the education sector until the very favored COI. You remember, for a certain president, everything was a COI. Nothing could happen until a commission of inquiry happened into the Ministry of Education and the education system. And you would recall, sir, that up to today's date, after millions of dollars have been spent on this COI, it has never been laid in this house and it has never been made public. And the reason for that, sir, I have found it. And when you look at the composition of the COI, it was jobs for the boys. What we spent millions of dollars for was a desk review of things that the Ministry of Education already knew, and had written in plans. And for the first time after 1993, this country went without an education sector plan published, for the first time. So if you look at the World Bank report, Mr. President, in 1993, it spoke of the importance of Mr. Speaker, it spoke of the importance of a sector plan. And for all the years the PPPC has been in office, there has been a functioning sector plan. The first 5 years the PNC went in, the whole period went without a sector plan. And that is a shame, because a sector plan gives direction to the entire country, all the regions, all the departments about where we're going, what we expect. And none of that happened. Mr. Speaker, the buildings in the Ministry of Education, look, this is January 17, 2015. January 17, 2015. We were not yet out of office. We announced, the PPPC, that we had acquired a $10 billion loan from the World Bank, that we were going to use it to make sure we acquire and achieve universal secondary education, that a school would be built at Golden Grove, that one would be built at Parfait Harmony, that another one would be built at Yarrow Cabra. We are back in office 5 years later, sir, and the school is not ready. The school is not up. A whole generation of children have passed through the system and continue to go to schools that are not appropriate. If you love your teachers, you would be upset on their behalf. Who is the contractor, sir? And Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with having friends, but our friendships must not interfere with our duty to serve the people of this country. That contract was signed on October 1st, 2018, 4 years after we left you the money. It was supposed to finish on January 15, 2020. We are at September 18, 2020, and it is only 74% finished. I would take my seat now. If any one of the members want to get up and defend that, I would take my seat. It is indefensible, it is unacceptable, and together we must say to contractors, you cannot give us service like this. Our children deserve better. Our children deserve better. Mr. Speaker, the Yarra Secondary School, you know, it is very telling. It is very telling that the opposition is defending this. And the people at Golden Grove, and the people at Pleasance, and the people between Golden Grove and Pleasance, they're hearing you and they will judge you. But Mr. Speaker, the Yarra secondary construction was awarded on December 31st, 2019. December 31st, 2019. When the APNU-AFC was deemed to be by the Caribbean Court of Justice a mere caretaker, a babysitter, incapable, well, if they weren't going to, the question is if we expected them to relax. No. But if you were going to do something, do it. Let me tell you the status of this school. The school has had, I'm not intellectually challenged like you, Mr. Duncan. Perhaps that is your problem. Mr. Speaker, this school, we have already advanced to the contractor. We have already advanced the contractor $161 million and $53 million. Add that up, it's more than $200 million. And he has finished 3.5% of the work. He should be at this time at least 8% of the work. This is turning up to be a Golden Grove, and I want to sound the warning now. I'm sounding a warning now to contractors who will work with us, that we are not going to tolerate this kind of sloth and neglect on the projects that this government has. I see Mr. Ramjitan defending this contract, and that's interesting to see. Look at St. Rose's, Mr. Speaker. St. Rose's was awarded in August 2018. It was supposed to finish on March 2020. To today's date, 8% is finished. It was supposed to finish, the whole school was supposed to have done build by March of this year. Today, 8% of that school is finished, and you tell me about loving teachers, and this is the condition you have them in, and you're defending it? Shame on you! Shame on you! Back up your words with actions, or you will be deemed to be politically exploiting people. Mr. Speaker, we are saying very clearly that these schools, that the APNU-AFC inherited money from us to build. They get the money from us, they get the drawing from us, they get a project manager from us, and they couldn't finish it. And we are saying to the people of these communities that we will finish these schools. We will finish them because we understand how important it is for your children to receive a world-class education, how important it is for them to have comfort and have a building that they can attend to. Mr. Speaker, the other thing we met was in this period of this pandemic, and in a totally unready state for any kind of organized, centralized engagement. That means we came into office on August 5th, and the ministry had no direction, policy from the government, or anything that said how our children would be engaged in this period. Nothing. And I will say to you, sir, that this is one of the hardest times for our country, educationally, medically. And to the young gentleman at the back, I don't yet know his name, who said that it was a lethargic attempt. Let me tell you from now that nothing we attempt to do in this period will be perfect, nor will it meet everybody, because we are not in perfect times. So we are trying very hard to engage our students, and I agree with this gentleman, Cox, and honorable member, and the honorable member, Mr. Schumann, when he says that, when they say that more attention has to be paid at the hinterland, we could tell you that. We could tell you the programs we have right now are not reaching those communities. But we cannot, Mr. Sears, do as your government did, which was nothing. You just throw up your hand, say you can't give a perfect solution, so you gave nothing. Nothing. You left your teachers undirected. You left your students unengaged. You did nothing. So what we ask you to do now, when we have a program in place that we tell you will not be perfect, we ask you to work with us. Join hands and make sure we can educate Guyana's children. That's what we ask you to do. And if you truly love them, and if you stand a chance of ever crossing that floor to come over here, you have to work with us, because you don't have a plan by yourself. And you can't come up with a plan by yourself. You have been incapable of doing that for 5 years. Incapable. So, Mr. Speaker, this particular budget allows us, sir, this particular budget, you know, the honorable member is saying report on the meeting I had with the union. I invited the union to the meeting because I believe they're an important stakeholder. And I'm saying to the honorable member that the union will not have to, under us, beat a drum and stand up on the road in the hot sun and the rain to get even an appointment with the minister. That, and I don't think you should be grateful. I think that is the relationship we have to have going forward. So stop being an empty vessel making noise, and let's partner for the education sector. Mr. Speaker, this budget will allow us, we came here, sir, and found zero. And I'm very pleased to say since then, Mr. Speaker, we launched on the 4th of September, a collaboration with the Commonwealth of Learning and Coursera to do an online training for the people of Guyana. And Mr. Speaker, from then to now, just under 2 weeks from then to now, we have had 31,438 persons registering, Guyanese persons. 31,438 persons registering. 13,509 of them are actively pursuing courses. 368 will be graduating on Tuesday with the rest of the Caribbean. And Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, sir, and let me share with this House what we know. These registrants from Region 1, we had 307. From Region 2, 1,062. From Region 3, 4,699. From Region 4, 18,592. From Region 5, 1,531. From Region 6, 2,918. From Region 7, 303. From Region 8, 65. From Region 9, 278. And I'd be happy to tell you, Mr. Speaker, From Region 1, we already have 5 persons with certificates. From Region 2, we have 27 persons with certificates. From Region 3, we have 51 persons with certificates. From Region 4, we have 246 persons with certificates. From Region 5, we have 24 persons with certificates. From Region 6, we have 58 persons with certificates. From Region 7, we have 2 persons with certificate. From Region 9, we have 1 person. And from Region 10, 19. And we are not stopping here. We are not stopping here. And you know, Mr. Speaker, there has been a claim that they love young people. Let me give you the breakdown. 0 to 25 years old, the number of registrants, 12,992. 25 to 35 years old, number of registrants, 11,087. And then we had some more numbers. We had between 75 and 102 persons. What does this tell us? It tells us our young people were starved for training. And when we opened it up, 31,000 of them joined. Do you know when this country got the invitation to get on this program? At the end of April. At the end of April, ministers were too busy trying to steal power, too busy trying to force themselves on this government, on this country to serve the people. They were reminded again in July, and they did nothing which to get this to the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, we will not be a government like that. In addition to just putting this here, we are now going into the hinterland to make sure where persons would like to be trained but don't have access to either the internet or devices, that we make sure we get them the opportunities they require. It would be, again, I bring to the attention of the nation the response of the opposition. Instead of Guyanese, you're getting trained and certified and skilled and making yourselves more employable. Look at them. Look at them, jealous of these people, why they themselves grab scholarships for their ministers. Grabbing scholarships for your ministers, so you know fully well the value of an education, but you don't want to share it with the people of this country. Shame, shame, shame. But, Mr. Speaker, I do commend to the members of the opposition the actual course. Their course is there about how to treat human beings, how to respect human rights. Look, there's a nice course here, honesty and trust in decision making. Go, sign up, it's free. Sign up and teach yourself about governance. I could not find a course why you should not thief an election, steal, rig, whatever might be the appropriate parliamentary word, because the world has far moved on from that. But after they learned of you here, this lot here, from March to now, you might see courses like that being introduced from next year. Why you should not rig an election, why it is dangerous for an economy, why it is dangerous for people's mental health, why you should not steal people's rights to choose a government. That might be introduced because of y'all, and the whole world becoming aware of you trying to rig an election. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we also started 2 days ago a teacher training program. Why did we start that? Because our teachers have said to us, you are asking us to teach online, and it is difficult. We don't know how to teach online. We don't know how to deal with these children online. It's a huge problem right now. Don't laugh at it. Huge problem with children at home being on the Zoom classes and being extremely disrespectful to our teachers. We need to partner with parents to make sure our teachers are not going through that extra hardship. It's not something to laugh about. Do not laugh.
Mr. Speaker, it is important for us to train our teachers so that we give them more confidence, we give them more tools, we give them a sense of pride in what they do. Because I know teachers in the majority want to be effective. Teachers want to be effective. And we are going to make sure we can do what we have to do to make them effective. And I think there's a teacher bellowing at the back there about shame. She clearly will not avail herself of this program, and that's sad. That's sad, because if she gets the program, she'll be a better teacher in the classroom, which means Guyanese children will better themselves. Since we launched that program, and that is a collaboration with the OAS and the Pro Futuro Foundation. We also partnered with GT&T and Digicel, so that teachers who go online to do this training will not have their data expended. That's what governance is about. Partnering with people to get the work done. These programs existed when you were there. Never came to the teachers and you telling me you love teachers? You telling me you love teachers? Mr. Speaker, 5,034 teachers were registered since we launched 2 days ago. 5,034 teachers. That is how interested they are in developing themselves. 1,700 are already on the platform. 1,700 of those teachers are already on the platform. What is this program going to do? It's going to teach innovation and ICT. The innovation part shows them how to use whatever you have on their tree, in the yard, from home, what it is. Teachers are not as interested as incentive as you are. So stop about what is the incentive. The incentive is developing themselves and being able to deliver in a classroom, and that's why 5,034 teachers did this. Stop belittling teachers and making everything about money. That is not how I see them. That is not how I
remember, you have to stop there and get an extension. Can someone move the extension for the Honorable Minister of Education?
That's what I'm saying.
A certain trade union leader who seems to not recognize we're in Parliament and thinks we're on a picket line. Mr. Speaker, I would like to request 5 minutes for my colleague to conclude her presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Teixeira. Honorable members, it's been very, very noisy, and remember, I'm following through 3.5 mm jack with the headphone, so it becomes very difficult to follow. Please, let's keep it a little quieter. Honorable Minister of Education, continue, please.
Mr. Speaker, where teachers have no access to devices or data, we're making arrangements to make sure they don't stay behind. And the honorable member is talking about giving people points for promotion. That is in the works. That is in the works. So stop. Why you didn't advise your Minister of Education from your party to do the same program since we had COVID? 5 months. So I am not talking about what we will do. I am talking about what we have done in 6 weeks. What we have already done in 6 weeks. 5 years and you can't do it yet. So shoot. Mr. Speaker, the other very important thing we had to do that faced us when we took office less than 6 weeks ago was how do we deliver to the children of this country some kind of education, something so that we keep them engaged. We know we could never replace the value of a teacher in front of the classroom. But in the absence of that, given the health concerns for both our teachers and our students and their families, what do?
I don't hold the view the Honorable Devin Sarah seems to hold, that in the absence of being able to deliver something perfectly, you do nothing at all. We don't have that option as leaders. We don't give ourselves on this side of the house that as an option. We must find solutions to problems. And what have we done, sir? We have established a timetabled, scheduled teaching on the Learning Channel. Mr. Speaker, 6 o'clock, clearly it begins from 8 o'clock in the morning for nursery. It begins, and the Honorable Member knows that is not true. It begins at 8 o'clock. I sent to her the timetable, so she knows that's not true, and she's still saying the opposite. It means she's prepared to dissemble to the people of this country, and they must not trust her. They must not trust her. Mr. Speaker, the timetabling starts from 8 o'clock in the morning, which is perfectly normal, and continues to 6 p.m. in the day. The Learning Channel, sir, was launched by the People's Progressive Party, Civic, in 2011 by then Jack Day, who was president at the time. And the vision then, sir, was to make sure we can carry education to all parts of this country. He said at the time that he launched it, he said, imagine children in a deep hinterland village being able to see the best science teacher from the coast or the best math teacher doing equations. Guess what happened from then to now, Mr. Speaker? First of all, yesterday, earlier in the week, I was asked for they needed a piece of equipment. And I said, but why didn't you ask the previous minister for this? This is so easy. And the answer was, we never saw her. She never visited that channel. But guess what they did? And here it is, sir. Government program sneaked onto the Guyana Learning Channel, June 16, 2016. Your priority was to put your picture on your face and your president, not the children of this country. When President Jagdeo launched it, he said this would be the only channel that has no political content. What they did, not how we can get education to the children in Aishalton, or the children in Karasabai, or the children in Karima. It was how can we get our very poisoned messages to all these communities. Let's go and take up time and space on the Learning Channel. And that's what they did. This budget, I see we're hurting a couple of people here today. We're hurting you, aren't we? This budget that you say provides nothing for anyone is giving $200 million for the expansion of the channel. And you know what that expansion will entail? That expansion would entail us having 6 learning channels at the same time. So the problem the member complains about, which is we have to start from 8 o'clock, we could start from 10 and take nursery all the way till 3 o'clock. And we could start grade 1 on the other channel and take it teach whole day. So it's not 2 hours, 2 hours. That is vision. That is putting your money where your mouth is. We want to serve the people 6 weeks after we came into office. 6 weeks, there is money here. So when you stand and say you cannot support this budget, you are taking away from the children of this country the ability to get teaching that they desire and deserve. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. This budget also, sir. Mr. Speaker, I hope you'll give me back my time. It will be quite a day when Nicolette schools anybody. Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides $15 million to establish our own radio station. So it will be the education radio station. This budget, the same one here that you say has nothing for nobody, $15 million to establish the radio station. Mrs. Cathy Hughes said, and she turned out, sir, the honorable member, to be such a colossal disappointment to this country. She said, oh, the radio existed since she was a child. She read on it, so did I. but it existed since March also. In this year, when we went into lockdown. And that incompetent and incapable government couldn't use the station they knew existed since she was a child to deliver education to this nation. Shame, shame, shame. Mr. Speaker, this budget allows us not to have to borrow a couple hours from NCN and borrow a couple hours from NTN. It will allow us to run our radio station all day, whole day, with education content. Thank you, President Irfan Ali. Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides money for us to provide masks to all our teachers and students, because going back into school is inevitable. It's inevitable. And when we go back into those schools, we have to make sure our teachers are safe, their families are safe, our students are safe. And so we are going to be providing from a government level masks. It is interesting. It would be interesting, while the honourable member is speaking, for her to tell us how many masks the AP and UAFC gave to the people of this country. Gave to the people. You come out with a big rule, people must wear masks, and you didn't give them any. It was up to the PPPC in opposition as a political party to distribute more than 100,000 masks. What would we do without the PPPC? Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides money for us to make sure our infrastructure in schools could accommodate the protocol set up by the Ministry of Health and the WHO. We will have to have enough sinks and running water. We'll have to have toilets that flush. This budget that you say does nothing for anyone, gives our 180,000 students and our 10,000 teachers and their families the comfort of knowing that they can wash their hands when they want to. If you can't support this budget, you are taking that away from them. Mr. Speaker, this budget also provides money for us to deliver education using the blended approach that we spoke about. TV, print material, radio, paying our teachers to come on the channel and teach for us. Getting the material out to people. $300 million set aside in this budget to make sure we keep our children engaged. So when you say the budget, you can't support this budget, it means you don't want those children to have the material we're sending out to them. Parents are begging us for this print material. So when you say you can't support it, it's that print material you're taking away from them. Shame, shame, shame. Shame on all of you. Mr. Speaker, yes, this was Mr. Bokan. This was one of your previous. This is what you did with the Learning Channel. Put the minister on his face there, nothing to do with the children, plus all that he's telling them are untruths. Untruths. That is what you did. What are we doing with it? We are teaching on that channel. And while I'm on the issue, so Mr. Speaker, I know my time is running out. This is a list. This is a list of what we promised for education in the manifesto. This is that list. And the highlighted parts of this list is what we have already begun to deliver 6 weeks later. And this list, sir, this list will go up on my wall on a vinyl printed material. And it will stay there to remind us of what we have to do every day, because this is what the people of this country called for. What does this budget help us to do? Enhance the Learning Channel to support learning across all levels and to extend coverage across Guyana. Provide generous tax incentives for private education providers from primary to tertiary levels. We have offer incentives to teachers and opportunities for training. We're offering 300, all our teachers 100 hours of free training. Restore and increase the Because We Care cash grant. These are things we have already begun to do. Mr. Speaker, the other side, sir, has zero moral or any authority to come here and tell us anything about governance. These are the people who I believe to be my equals up to March 5th. Up to March 5th. And then we saw what unfolded. They tried to take from the people of this country their very basic human and fundamental, constitutionally enshrined right to pick a government of their choice. And that is where we're not equal. You are not like me. You are not like us. We are not equal. You are thieves of rights. We are not. And for the people who said we're weaponizing the courts, let me say this. We will use every means, every measure, all the time, every day to make sure we protect the rights of the people of this country, and particularly to make sure we protect them against the APNU, AFC, and PNC. We will reassure the people of this country that that will be our mission. At the forefront of our thoughts will always be that once you give them a chance, people don't have rights in this country anymore. Mr. Speaker, as I close, I say with certainty that 10 heads will always be better than one. All things being equal. And my position has been, always, and will continue to be, that I am prepared to partner with whoever is prepared to partner with us to take the education sector forward. That doesn't mean we have to have the same opinions, and we have to have the same. In my own house, there's a different opinion on a large number of things, and we love each other. And we love each other. So we could get by if we truly love our children. Don't be disruptive and obstructionist and come in here and holler like you're heading good. Let's partner. Let us partner for the children of Guyana, because the PPPC is on a mission, and it is to deliver education to all corners of this country, to every single child of this country. And along the way, we will be looking after our parents and our teachers. I thank you, sir.